Now, this time, we're going to be talking about why you need to plan for a longer life. Seems like we're living a whole lot longer than we used to. 1 in 4 present 65-year-olds will survive past 90 years of age, and 1 in 10 will live past 95. Americans who live to be 65 are living longer lives than ever before. For example, both my grandmothers lived to be 93. My dad was 90. My mom was 85 when she passed. Just an example. You know, it's wonderful to anticipate the significant events those years are going to bring. However, the possibility that you might live longer than previous generations may cause you to reconsider your retirement preparation. How will you cope financially? Do you have enough money saved to live out your life? These are some things to really ponder. If you don't feel completely financially prepared, you won't be able to enjoy those years or pay for any care you might require. Make sure you're prepared for the celebration of your 100th birthday and beyond. Happy birthday to those who make it to that 100-year anniversary of their birth. Let's talk about potential costs for longevity. There are a few different areas where costs have the potential to add up quickly as you age. Healthcare costs. Listen, a 65-year-old couple in good health who retire today should anticipate spending $285,000 on healthcare expenses during retirement, with up to 68% of their Social Security payments going towards these expenses. You know, this amount accounts for expenses like Medicare premiums and some out-of-pocket expenses for medical requirements, but excludes numerous expenses that are outside the jurisdiction of Medicare. They don't pay for everything, such as long-term care. Please give me a like, please subscribe, and please hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I release new videos. Healthcare expenses are something you'd want to carefully account for if you live longer, because for some retirees, they can easily exceed $1 million in spending. Long-term care. Most of us don't really think about that. Medicare covers the majority of expenses such as a trip to the hospital or yearly exams, but it excludes long-term care such as residing in an assisted living facility or hiring a home health assistant. Over half of adults over 65 will require a form of long-term care, and more than 1/3 will eventually spend time in a nursing facility. I know my dad had to spend about 6 months in the nursing home. Although long-term care continues to be a substantial national expense, prices can differ significantly from state to state. You may look up what those prices are in your particular state to have an idea. And outliving a partner. It's crucial to keep in mind when making future plans that one spouse might be financially independent for a considerable amount of time. There's a 20% probability that a wife will outlive her husband by 15 or more years for couples who are retiring right now. Well, I know both of my grandmothers, they were in that 15 to 20 year range. And inflation, wow, we hear that on the news day in and day out. In order to cover part of the increases in daily costs brought on by inflation, the Social Security Administration does provide recipients with a cost of living adjustment which they call the COLA. And once a year, usually I think it's in October, they do the calculations and send out the notices if you're going to get an increase starting the next January. In the majority of the years, they do that. But Social Security COLA increases don't always keep up with the pace of inflation. They give you a COLA raise, and then they go over onto the Medicare side, and they just increase that, so you really don't get much of an increase at all. You may actually go backwards. And healthcare costs tend to rise faster than inflation. Keep in mind, inflation is always at work. It always has been. And keep this in mind so you're not blindsided by inflation in years to come. And funding a long life. So how can you plan for these rising costs? Well, here are some of our best bets. Keep working. Depending on your health, the health of a loved one, or a variety of other factors, working longer than you anticipated might not be viable for some people, but for others, maybe it will be. However, you'll be alone. If you're ready and able to work past your early 60s, thanks to both necessity and choice, people 65 and older are 75% more likely than they were a generation ago to still be working. We just went to the grocery store, and a guy I grew up with, he's working in a local grocery store as a cashier, and he had worked for the state through his life and retired, but now he's working a different job. We'd go to Walmart, older people working in there as stockers and cashiers in different departments. Go to Lowe's, the same thing happens. The Home Depot, people go to work after they retire because they're still needing money, or they get bored and they want something to do. But anyway, working the same job you've always had, it's not required, like I just said. You can search for part-time work that is more flexible and enjoyable than your prior employment, doing something completely different. If you're ready to retire, but yet want to maintain some form of, hate that, interruptions on the phone, sorry. But anyway, you can search for part-time work that is more flexible, like I said, and enjoyable than your prior employment. If you are ready to retire, but yet want to maintain some sort of cash flow, cash stream, extra money, walking around money they call for some. And for partially retired professionals, there are a ton of options. Many of them remote, including online education, customer service, participating in focus groups, or working as a consultant, career counselor, or patient advocate. COVID brought on FaceTime, Zoom meetings, all different kind of apps that people use to meet with people and talk with people, and it's so easy to do. Skype, the new phones, they're smart. Just about everybody can go FaceTime talking on their phone, that's for sure. Delay Social Security, that's an issue. You will receive an 8% increase in your payout for every year you postpone Social Security up until age 70, providing a big boost both now and in the future. And then there's long-term care insurance, something that most people don't want to talk about. Long-term care insurance may be an alternative to help with care cost as you age, depending on the individual and circumstances. However, experts advise comparing plans between the ages of 60 and 65 when you're still young enough that premiums won't start out extremely high, but elderly enough that you won't be squandering money by contributing to premiums while you could be decades away from needing that care and using that particular insurance. Then HSA or FSA, something that I never had when I worked, wasn't available. But listen, You might be doing better planning for long-term care expenses with a health savings account if you missed a sweet spot. Have a pre-existing condition that makes it difficult to qualify for long-term care insurance or can't pay the premiums on your current budget. If you're still employed and have an employer-sponsored FSA or HSA, make sure you're taking full advantage of it. If you're 55 or older, you may also want to make catch-up contributions. In this approach, you can begin setting money aside for healthcare today and select later how to spend it, whether for long-term care or another medical need. And then hybrid long-term care insurance. More insurance companies are offering hybrid policies where your payments pay for both life insurance and long-term care expenses. This is something that I never heard about until I did this research. Plans vary a little depending on the provider, but generally speaking, in the event that you won't require long-term care insurance, your beneficiary will be paid out upon your passing. These plans have advantages and disadvantages like everything else in life, and many people find it easier to rationalize the expense of the premiums when they know the policy includes life insurance. And these hybrid policies occasionally have more favorable eligibility requirements than long-term care insurance. On the other side, the premiums may be more expensive, occasionally demand greater out-of-pocket expenses, and offer fewer options for personalization. However, it may be worthwhile to investigate to see if there is one that meets your particular requirements. And staying healthy. This is so important. Keeping up with your regular preventative screenings and making healthy lifestyle choices can make it easier for you to prevent and manage chronic disease, heart disease, high cholesterol. Example, when COVID hit, the wife and I both lost our jobs. In the previous video, I talked about our story. We both lost our jobs. When we were working 3-4 days a week at the church, we would eat out. Okay, then COVID hits, we both lose our jobs, we're home for a year. We go for a regular screening, my cholesterol drops. That's because I wasn't eating out 4 days a week, junk food, unhealthy food. So I know for a fact it can make a big difference. Anyway, diet and exercise equals better overall wellness. Right now, I walk 2 miles a day. I do 100 push-ups a day. I got started in this when I was let go. I had double bypass, heart surgery, and I feel like I'm on top of the world now, so I know that diet and exercise definitely work. Diet and even moderate walking and exercise will help your overall health and mind, which includes memory as you age. That is for sure. It's proven. Supplements can also add to your overall health. I've been taking vitamins since I was a child. My mom got me started, and I still take them today. And now we'll talk about refinancing or downsizing. Maybe you haven't thought about this. Refinancing or downsizing can help you save hundreds of dollars a month on expenses like rent, utilities, and other living expenses, which help your retirement savings last longer. Maybe you live in a big house. You don't need that big house when you get older. Maybe you have a lot of stuff, but maybe that's when you need to think about downsizing, getting into a smaller apartment or a smaller house. Makes a big difference. Can you earn money after retirement? Well, yes you can. And that's what really got me started in this YouTube adventure. Since my wife and I both had lost our jobs and we need extra money, and so I started praying and I was led to YouTube, and that's where this particular channel is going, trying to help you realize the same things. Anyway, money. we will need money to live on as long as we live. It's just a fact. We always have to have items, and we need money to purchase those items. Anyway, you may have retired, but do not have enough money to live on, and have the ability to do things like when you worked and had good cash flow. You know, losing a job. Maybe you went and got cut in half than what you were making before. You're going to have to not do things you want to do. And you want to do things. So we're going to get into that in the upcoming video. So just stay tuned, please. And we'll go from there. Anyway, like I say, more on this later. Please give me a like. Please share. Please make comments. And save. Thanks for watching. Until next time.